So when you add it all up, the tournament itself, we can look at total market activity generated. That might include gambling, that might include people traveling there, that's going to include concessions and things like that. That's going to be in the billions of dollars. Each individual bucket is probably best quantified in the hundreds of millions of dollars. My name is Christenson. I'm a clinical assistant professor of marketing here at Penn State in the Smeal College of Business. March Madness is a huge enterprise because it's attracting a large market of people in viewership, particularly here in the United States. So people are viewing online, and media sales and media growth is where most of the money coming into sports right now is flowing from. But then they're also selling tickets. There's also merchandise. There's sponsorships and partners that are involved with this. And it's a month-long tournament. So it becomes almost a cultural cornerstone, I want to say. The size of the tournament in terms of dollars and revenue, we'd have to go back and look at some of the NCAA reports on what the size of that is. There are media rights that are negotiated over several years, 5 or 10 years out, and those are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. They might be paying out, $10 to $50 million per year, or for a number of games that they're bidding on. So there's a large media rights market that is only growing. We're seeing an increase in the amount of ticket sales, and not even just ticket sales. The event might be at capacity, but the price of those tickets is going up. So the revenue for ticket sales is also still a significant factor. You then also have merchandise sales for that school, for that athletics department, even though that's at a lower level than what we might see from tickets or media rights. And then outside of that, the NCAA retains the right to negotiate all of their sponsors and partners for their major tournament. Whereas an individual institution might have an agreement through their conference or through their local sponsor or partner, the NCAA is selling sponsorship rights for their major tournament, and those are going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars as well. Sports gambling is a hot topic now, particularly that we're going into the basketball tournament here in March. And there has been a lot of news stories about what's going on in sports gambling, particularly a worry about the athletes themselves being impacted by what's happening in the gambling economy, let's call it. And it is kind of a parallel economy to what's going on in the traditional way that most people would consume or spend money around the tournament. So new sites and new apps and new technology, also mobile gambling. This has really brought up a little bit of conflict, you might say, for the NCAA and for leagues and teams and even players, because the primary goal of the NCAA is to develop the student athlete, not necessarily make the most revenue or the most profit, but there is a very big economic reason to embrace gambling. I do know that when we compare what Las Vegas might have reported, they brought in sports gambling through the 90s and the early 2000s. Just on football alone, I think Las Vegas probably brought in anywhere between 10 to 30 billion dollars. What we're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years as gambling continues to come into sports, what the numbers we do have show in performance of these companies is that it's in the 50 to 70, maybe even 80 billion dollars per year. So what Las Vegas might have seen for one sport over a decade, we're probably going to see a significant amount or a similar amount over a single year moving forward. It is something that I think is not only changing the ethic of the sport and what's motivating performance on the court and off the court, but also the connection between the fan and the sport. And maybe no longer being so rah-rah for Old State, and maybe now I'm cheering a little bit more for somebody to miss a free throw. And I'm watching a game that I wouldn't have cared about 2 years ago, but now that I can bet on it, maybe I'm now a little bit more invested.